Every living thing on this planet has had millions of years to figure out how to survive here. Fish grew gills. Birds hollowed out their bones. Polar bears packed on layers of insulating fat so thick they could sleep through an Arctic winter without breaking a sweat. Nature is really good at this. It takes a species, runs it through millions of years of trial and error, and by the end, that species fits its environment like a key fits a lock. So here's the question I want you to sit with today. Why don't we? Let's start with something embarrassingly basic. Sunlight. Go outside on a clear afternoon and just stand there. Give it 20 minutes. Your skin will start to burn. Stay long enough and you'll blister, peel, and if you do it enough times, you'll get cancer from your own star. Now look at literally every other animal living under that same sun. Lizards bask for hours. Elephants, horses, wild dogs. They spend their entire lives exposed to the same ultraviolet radiation that is slowly cooking you. Their fur, their scales, their pigmentation, all calibrated perfectly for Earth's sun. Ours is not. We had to invent a chemical paste, rub it all over our bodies, and reapply it every 2 hours just to go to the beach safely. Think about what that actually means. We needed to engineer a product to survive a Tuesday afternoon outside. That is not a species that belongs here. That is a species making do. Now let's talk about your back, because there's a good chance it already hurts. 80% of humans will experience chronic back pain at some point in their lives. 4 out of every 5 people. If 4 out of 5 members of your species share the same structural failure, that's not bad luck. That is a design problem. Here's what happened. Our ancestors spent tens of millions of years moving on all fours. Our spines evolved as a horizontal structure, built to carry weight like a suspension bridge. Then, somewhere along the way, we stood up, and instead of redesigning the spine from scratch, evolution just tilted the old one vertical. The discs between our vertebrae compress under gravity in ways they were never meant to handle. Every step you take, every hour you sit at your desk, every time you bend down to pick something up, you're stressing a structure that was not built for this. Compare us to kangaroos, ostriches, other animals that actually evolved to stand upright. They don't have this problem. Their bodies were designed for the posture they walk around in. Ours were retrofitted, badly. And then there's childbirth. I'm going to be direct with you here. Human childbirth is the most dangerous birth process of any mammal on this planet. Not one of the most dangerous. The most dangerous. Full stop. Our baby skulls are so large they barely fit through the birth canal. Before modern medicine existed, giving birth was one of the leading causes of death for women, not just occasionally, but consistently throughout all of recorded human history. A horse delivers a foal in about 30 minutes. That foal stands up within the hour. A giraffe gives birth while standing up, and the calf drops 6 feet to the ground, gets up, and starts walking. A human newborn cannot hold up its own head. It cannot walk. It cannot feed itself. It cannot regulate its own body temperature. For months, it cannot do almost anything. For years, it remains largely dependent on adults just to stay alive. We enter this world more helpless than any other species that has ever existed here. And we nearly kill our own mothers in the process. Then there are allergies. Your immune system has one job. One, keep threats out of your body and destroy anything that gets through. But in roughly 30% of the global population, that system goes haywire. It declares war on pollen, on peanuts, on dust mites, on cat hair, on shellfish, on things that pose absolutely zero threat to your survival. Your own defense system is attacking the air you breathe and the food you eat. Not because those things are dangerous, but because something in your immune calibration is just wrong, misconfigured, like software running on the wrong operating system. Okay, now here is where it gets genuinely strange. No other animal on Earth knows it is going to die. Your dog does not lie awake at night thinking about its mortality. Dolphins don't have existential crises. Elephants don't build religions to manage the psychological terror of non-existence. But we do. Every single one of us. We're the only species walking around with the full, conscious awareness that one day we will simply stop existing. And instead of just accepting it and moving on the way every other animal does, We have spent our entire history desperately trying to solve it. We build temples. We write philosophies. We create entire civilizations organized around the question of what happens after death. We have sacrificed millions of lives throughout history in arguments about which answer to that question is the correct one. Now ask yourself, what survival advantage does existential dread actually provide? For most of human history, awareness of our own mortality has driven people to despair, to obsession, and to war. From a purely evolutionary standpoint, it makes no sense. It is a feature that helps nothing and costs everything. Unless it wasn't put there by evolution. Unless it is the feeling of a species that knows, somewhere deep in its subconscious, that it is not supposed to be here. And then there is the big one. The one that is hardest to explain away. Every species on Earth participates in its ecosystem. Predators manage prey populations. Prey keeps plant life in check. Decomposers return nutrients to the soil. It is a closed, self-correcting loop. Every creature plays its role, and the system balances. Except us. We clear-cut forests. We collapse fish populations. We pump the atmosphere full of gases that trap heat and destabilize the climate systems every other living thing on this planet depends on. We have driven thousands of species to extinction, and we are still accelerating. We don't participate in Earth's ecosystem. We dismantle it, and we do it not out of malice, but out of something that feels almost like incomprehension, like we genuinely don't understand the rules because nobody told us what they were. That is exactly what you would expect from an invasive species. Something transplanted onto a planet it wasn't built for. It doesn't know the local customs because it didn't grow up here. In 1973, a paper was published that should have caused far more controversy than it did. The man who wrote it was Francis Crick, co-discoverer of the double helix structure of DNA, Nobel Prize winner, one of the most important scientists of the 20th century. And in this paper, written alongside chemist Leslie Orgel, he proposed something that sounded completely wild coming from someone of his credentials. He called it directed panspermia, the idea that life on Earth did not originate here, that it was deliberately seeded by an intelligent civilization from somewhere else in the galaxy. The man who literally decoded the molecule of life looked at the evidence and said, "I'm not sure this started here." So what evidence was he looking at? For one thing, the timing. Life appeared on Earth roughly 3.8 billion years ago. The planet itself is only about 4.5 billion years old. That means complex organic chemistry emerged less than 700 million years after Earth formed, while it was still being bombarded by asteroids and cooling from a molten surface of rock and toxic gas. In geological time, that gap is almost nothing. Life showed up basically the moment conditions allowed it. No gradual build-up, no slow start, just here it is. Then there is the Murchison meteorite. In 1969, a rock from space crashed in southeastern Australia. When scientists analyzed it, they found over 90 different amino acids inside. Amino acids, the building blocks of proteins, the foundation of all biological life. Some of those amino acids are the exact same ones found in every living thing on Earth. The chemistry of life is not unique to Earth. It travels through space on rocks. And we know life can survive that journey. Tardigrades, those microscopic eight-legged creatures that look like tiny armored bears, have survived direct exposure to the vacuum of space, to cosmic radiation, to temperatures near absolute zero. In 2019, an Israeli spacecraft carrying a sample of tardigrades crashed on the moon. Scientists believe some of them may still be viable up there right now, sitting on the lunar surface, waiting. Life is tougher than the universe, and it moves. Now, mainstream biology does have an answer for most of this. It's called evolutionary mismatch, and honestly, it is a compelling explanation. The back pain makes sense when you remember we only started walking upright about 6 million years ago. That sounds like a long time, but evolution moves slowly. Our spines are a prototype that never received its final patch. The sunburn makes sense when you consider that we lost our body hair to cool down more efficiently during long-distance runs on the African savanna. We traded our protective coat for the ability to outrun every other animal on the planet. The UV damage was the trade-off. The difficult childbirth makes sense because our brains were getting bigger and our pelvises were staying narrow for upright walking, and the two pressures collided in the worst possible way. Even the environmental destruction has a rational explanation. We evolved in small groups where resources felt infinite relative to our numbers. Our brains are wired for short-term survival, not long-term planetary management. We're not invaders. We're just an animal that got powerful faster than it could get wise. But here's the thing that none of these explanations fully account for: the speed. No species in 4 billion years of life on Earth has done what we did. Dolphins have existed for 50 million years. They are intelligent. They communicate. They have complex social lives. And in all that time, they have not built a single tool. Not one. Chimpanzees figured out how to use sticks as tools roughly 4 million years ago. They have not made a single technological upgrade since. We went from sharpened rocks to nuclear weapons in about 2 million years. From fire to the International Space Station. From cave paintings to artificial intelligence. From striking flint together to landing robots on Mars. 200 years ago, there were no railroads. 125 years ago, there were no airplanes. 75 years ago, no human had ever left this planet. 35 years ago, the internet did not exist. Nothing in the entire history of life on Earth has ever accelerated like that. Not even close. And scientists still cannot fully explain why. Language probably played a role. Cooking gave us more calories and let our brains grow. A mutation in a gene called FOXP2 may have unlocked complex speech. Our ability to teach, to stack knowledge across generations, gave each era a head start the previous one never had. All of those things matter. But none of them, not all of them together, fully explain the sheer, unprecedented velocity of what we did. So here's where we land. Is it likely we are literally from somewhere else? Probably not. The evolutionary evidence is strong. Mismatch theory handles most of the body's quirks. We are almost certainly a product of this planet, shaped by the same blind forces that shaped everything else here. But almost certainly is not the same thing as definitely. And when one of the founders of modern genetics looks at the record of life on Earth and says something here doesn't quite add up, that is not a conspiracy theory. That is a scientist being honest about the limits of what we actually know. Science is not a collection of settled answers. It is a method for chasing uncomfortable questions and refusing to look away when the answers don't come out clean. And maybe the most honest thing we can say right now is this: we have pieces. We don't have the full picture. We're the only species that burns under its own sun. The only one whose skeleton is slowly failing under the pull of its own planet's gravity. The only one that kills its own mothers just by being born. The only one that wages war over what happens after death. And the only one that looks up at the night sky and feels, deep in a place it cannot quite name, that it is looking at something familiar. Maybe that feeling is just poetry. Maybe it is ancient, hardwired curiosity doing what it has always done. Or maybe it is something older than memory. Something that has been pulling us upward since the very beginning. Like something in us already knows the way home, and has just been waiting for the rest of us to catch up